and today I'm going to show you some images that I took in the past year. I spent the last 12 months before school started in Dublin, Ireland as a Fulbright scholar, and you may be interested in applying for a Fulbright someday. Most Fulbrights go to academics and to students, but there are some that are available for professionals. So for instance, the head city planner from Seattle was working in Dublin a few years before me in the city planning office. So I got to do research for the year, and I was actually doing research on engineering education. One of the things that I found was really important to that place was coffee culture, that the faculty come together quite often socially and do a lot of talking about education. I originally fell in love with Ireland on a visit in 2003, and times have changed a lot since then. This is a pub that I went to then and I've returned to. Pub culture has changed a lot with no smoking in buildings, with under 18 not being allowed in pubs anymore. So you've got a different kind of thing. I was also chasing my heritage. This is the town my great-grandmother got in a boat and sailed over to New York City from at one point. What I'm trying to do with my photographs is to capture urban reflections, mostly urban reflections. And I'm fascinated with trying to capture things that appear normal, but I think when you look in the future at these images, you'll be able to tell the time and place that they occurred. And in the reflections, just moving your camera the slightest bit or tilting your head just a little bit will capture a different set of layers, a different set of information about the culture and the time and the place. So actually this is Primark's headquarters that's on Henry Street, as reflected in its competitors. I exhibited these images as part of a photography show that was sponsored by Fulbright. It's an Interchanges cultural event. I also had the chance during the year to do an inter-country lecturing tour in Belgium and another one in Portugal. So there were cultural exchange programs built within the Fulbright program. This country, Ireland, is amazing in its thirst for information. 6.2 million people in the country, not on the island, there are 8 point some on the island, but they have 17 newspapers daily that they read. They actually read. Our newspapers are going away, theirs are thriving. Architecturally speaking, the people are very interested in architecture. So this month you would find Open House Dublin, you would find hundreds of people traipsing around the city behind architects to learn about the buildings of the city. They do love their Georgian buildings. They also have quite a bit of good modern architecture that came about during the Celtic Tiger, but their favorite is the Georgian space, or the Georgian buildings. There aren't a lot of good urban spaces in the city of Dublin, and most of the towns of Ireland actually weren't really designed. They're more organic in form. The streets are exciting. They're different sizes and shapes, and many of them are dedicated just to pedestrians, but they're not the types of piazza spaces, plaza spaces that you'd find in Italy or France. Intersections are always important around the world, though, and this is one of the busiest. And this building that I'm reflecting in was closed down when I went before Christmas. There was nothing there, and when I came back 5 weeks later, it had been cleaned up, and poof, there was a coffee shop, grocery store there. So the place is constantly changing. Things are sprouting up, and some of them last, and some of them that had sprouted up while I was gone for Christmas were gone by the time the summer rolled around. The river here is a very important geographic feature, so I was talking about the Celtic Tiger. It changed the culture quite a bit. During the Celtic Tiger, Ireland was like the Silicon Valley of Europe, and their economy was growing at 7 times the rate of any other economy in the world, and people flocked there. It was at the same time that the Eastern Bloc countries joined the EU and had free choice. So 470,000 people came from Eastern Europe and moved into Ireland at the time. And they all have legitimacy to work. So it's I know what it's like to be at the end of the end of the line wanting a visa. When we think of Ireland, we think a lot of the rift between Northern Ireland and the rest of Ireland, Southern Ireland. And when I was there in 2003, the culture was very much divided and the fighting was still going on. But these days, that really is seen as a thing of the past, and the healing between the Protestants and the Catholics in the North and the South. The divisions actually weren't anywhere near where I thought they were when I left. When I went over originally, there were people living on both sides, fighting on both sides. It was really much more nuanced than I had ever imagined. Just as I think what's going on in Israel and Palestine probably is too, which is something they talk about a lot there that we have not really talked about much in our country. We've just assumed facts or sides or history. A lot of the small towns are founded around breweries, so I was just showing you one that's the headquarters of Smithwick's. I lived just down the street from the Jameson Distillery and across the river from the Guinness factory, so I could smell Guinness brewing all the time. The mix of architectural styles is fun there because you get to see they work together pretty well. The scales formally and how the buildings relate to the street is appropriate, but and then the architectural vocabulary changes and you see the interplay of things against each other. So thank you very much.